All right, folks, welcome back to Real Estate Solutions. And we are just hitting episode number 8 here. I'm going to talk about exactly how to use my calculator, at least as a starting point for yourself. As I've been mentioning, please don't take my word as law. Do not sue me. This is just a starting point. I have my own process and my own way of doing things. You should always develop your own. If you decide to do exactly what someone else says to do verbatim, that may or may not work for you. You should always take your own judgment into account. So without further ado, we're going to get right to it. So this is going to be a quick demo on how my calculator works. I just decided to pop into a different market for fun. We're looking at Albuquerque, New Mexico. So first thing we're going to do is obviously, take a peek in the market, decide we want to find something interesting. Here is what looks like a 4-family listed for $275, 8 beds, 4 baths. I like the sound of that. So we're going to start right here. We're going to copy the address. Always good to have some records there. We're going to copy that listing link so that we know exactly where we're going. We see that purchase price. We're going to throw that in here, $275. And we're going to copy it over here. This is the one that's really going to actually drive the numbers for the spreadsheet. You could leave the asking price blank. We are looking at 8 bedrooms, 4 units. Square footage is at 3,200. I'm going to add a line for price per square foot. Always a good number to know. Anything you can do to add square footage will obviously add some value there. Generally speaking, smaller units are going to have a higher price per square foot relative to larger units, because if you have 3 beds, 1 bath in 1,000 square feet and you have it in 1,800 square feet, only some people are going to pay more for that difference. The demand just kind of goes down. The utility of 1,000 square feet versus 1,800 is not that different when the number of bedrooms is the same. Just from an owner-occupant perspective, most people aren't looking to maximize that. Looking at a 6970 square foot lot. So not a huge one, not a lot of potential to increase there, but you never know. This one has been on the market for 122 days, so I think we can comfortably say that it's overpriced. So we may drive that price down a little bit. We are looking at a 4-plex. All units are 2-bed, 1 bath. They all have a small outdoor area, balcony of some sort. Long-term tenants all currently month-to-month. They do not want to increase the rents or replace their tenants, it looks like, based on what they're saying. Tenant parking is free as long as the owner maintains the area. That's interesting. So there's going to be some maintenance required. Looks like the rents are around $625 to $675. That's actually not super low for the area from what I was just looking at. So we're looking at $625, $675, $675. So what we're going to do is equals 625 plus 675 times 2 plus 700. And then we're going to divide that by 4. So that's going to get our current rents. And in this area, we're going to go ahead and take Rentometer. I highly recommend getting yourself an account. And we're going to run a quick search for 2-bed, 1 baths. I'm keeping a pretty wide radius here. Looks like they're going to come in between 725 and 825. I'm going to go with the median rather than the average here, since there is a big gap. So we're going to come down right in the middle of those. I'm going to say 775 is where we can probably stabilize those 2 beds. So we're looking at an average rent of $775 a unit, currently at $668. Definitely a little room for upside. You can see $5,000 annual spread there. The property taxes are a lot lower. So again, I'm sorry, I'll whip through this a little slower. Estimated condition, we don't know a lot. There aren't any photos. So we'll assume there's some cosmetics needed. However, that tin roof is nice. That's not going to be something that requires a massive amount of maintenance. The whole, concrete facade, I like. We'll see. I don't know that much about this property type. This would be one that you just have to see it. Anyway, we're going to continue on assuming kind of a light amount of cosmetic work. Generally, I would assume around 15 a unit for this one, given that it's a cheaper market. I'm going to bring it down to 10,000 a unit and hope that it stays lower than that, honestly. So we're looking at a little bit of CapEx if we're doing a big turn and trying to improve the prices. That's kind of without a doubt. Loan terms, I generally leave the leverage at 75%. It's assuming that you can get a 25% down payment with a lot of investment loans. Interest rates at 4.5%. Again, this is kind of like an entry-level investment loan. If you have very established you can get a much better rate. If you're looking to owner occupy, you can get a much better rate. There are definitely ways you can beat this. If you're using a hard money lender or a private investor, you may be looking at a higher rate. We're also assuming a 30-year payoff. And you can see that the monthly principal and interest payment, don't change this, is going to be at about $1,000 a month for the principal and interest. Property taxes are lower in Albuquerque. They're about 1.02%. I looked this up before. You can literally just Google search it. It was very easy to find the first result that comes up. That's going to be critical. Different markets have very different tax rates. Providence for an investor is like 3.1%. So this is a huge drop down in the amount of taxes you're going to pay. The insurance for the property, again, is going to be somewhat based on the value of the property. I think $1,650 is reasonable. I'm paying about $2,000 for a property slightly below this, but I'm paying Massachusetts prices. Utilities, we're going to assume a little bit for each unit. Currently, I have this running at $85 per month total for trash and some common area electric, as well as $80 per unit for water every single month. You could play with this. You could sub-meter for the water. Around here in Boston, you can get a building sub-metered for water for about $2,500. As you can kind of see from this, that would pay you back like super fast. That's like 1 year's expenses there. Management fees I have set for 8%, vacancy for 8%, repairs and maintenance for 8%, CapEx for 10%. You can play with these just by hitting enter, turn that to 10%. Let's say, okay, we're going to turn that to 6, whatever you want to do for those. You can play around with that, use your own judgment. Next up, I do have the current rents and reserves set at 10%, but I will modify those down to give a more accurate reflection there. And it looks like this is a property that breaks even pretty easily, but doesn't make a lot of money. We're looking at $224 a monthly cash flow, which is an annualized return of about 6 to 7%. And a lot of that is coming from the assumed forced appreciation from the repairs. If we can get it up to that 825 or 880 rental rate, then we do have a chance to get a much better return. Looks like we'd really have to get up to like 875 to see good numbers here. That's a 5% cash on cash. That's not crazy. You are getting a much better annualized return, including the equity pay down and all that kind of stuff. But again, this is not a mind blower. But that's just a quick run through of how to use the investment calculator. We will be back to Providence tomorrow as per usual. Thank you for tuning in. Always a pleasure to have you here. Have a great evening and stay healthy.